So what we have here is a sea cucumber with tentacles. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Helicobacter pylori. The stomach is a very harsh place, but H. pylori has structures to colonize the stomach epithelium. So what are those? It has flagella for motility, liposaccharides for adhesion, and it has urease enzyme to neutralize the dangerous hydrochloric acid we find in the stomach. H. pylori normally locates itself in the antrum. Let's have a closer look at the barriers of the stomach. The columnar epithelium, a layer of mucus, and a layer of hydrochloric acid. How does the H. pylori infiltrate these barriers? First, with its urease, urea is converted to carbon dioxide, water, and ammonia to neutralize hydrochloric acid. Then, with its flagella, it propels itself through the mucus to the gastric mucosa. There, with its liposaccharides, it adheres itself to the stomach wall. Subsequently, it releases HAG-A and WAG-A, causing persistent damage to the gastric mucosa. In response to HAG-A, the gastric epithelium releases the cytokines IL-8 and IL-1 beta, causing the recruitment of neutrophils and mononuclear cells. And in turn, these cells move to the site of infection, disrupting the cell's defense mechanism and causing ulcerogenesis by releasing leukotrienes, lysozymes, and ROS, reactive oxygen species. In addition, pro-inflammatory cytokines and bacterial antigens stimulate local and systemic response of the T and B cells, and the complementary system and platelet-activating factors play a role in this as well. The combination of all these defense mechanisms of the body eventually leads to chronic active gastritis. Now there are two types of chronic active gastritis, but first let's talk about antrum predominant gastritis, where the H. pylori is concentrated in the distal antrum. Hence, the parietal cells are not involved to a greater extent, but due to the high inflammation, there is gastric acid hypersecretion from the parietal cells. On top of that, due to the increased ammonia accumulation on the antral glands and the gastric mucosa, the D cells are not able to detect the correct levels of gastric acid, hence release inappropriate secretion of somatostatin, which is responsible for the inhibition of HCl, and stimulate G cells to release gastrin, which causes gastric acid hypersecretion as well. The reduced somatostatin and elevated gastrin levels induce the hyperplasia of ECL cells and parietal cells. Apart from that, H. pylori damages the neural control, which in turn disrupts the inhibition of gastric acid secretion as well. These three factors contribute to an overall exaggerated secretion of gastric acid in the stomach. So if all this is happening in the gastric region, how do duodenal ulcers occur? Well, due to the mentioned gastric hypersecretion, duodenal acid overload occurs, which causes metaplasia in the duodenum, particularly the duodenal cap. Hence, the normal intestinal epithelium is converted to gastric epithelium, allowing H. pylori colonization of the islands of gastric metaplasia, leading to the acceleration of duodenal ulcerogenesis. In some cases, perforation of the duodenal ulcers occur, which is 9 times more likely than gastric perforations. Anterior perforations occur in 92% of cases, posterior perforations occur in 2% of cases, and perforations in duodenal pylori junction occur in 6% of cases. Now let's move on to corpus predominant gastritis, in which the bacteria is located in the antrum but in close proximity to the corpus. This would definitely lead to the impairment of parietal cells, given that these cells are also found mostly in the corpus. Hence, this would lead to ulcers in the junction of the antrum and corpus. Eventually, this could lead to atrophic gastritis, which is the replacement of normal gastric mucosa with intestinal epithelium. This increases the likelihood of developing gastric cancer by 5 to 90 times. So in summary, H. pylori colonization could lead to the inflammation of the stomach, which could then lead to chronic active gastritis, and you have two types of that, antrum predominant and corpus predominant. Antrum predominant could lead to metaplastic changes of the duodenum, which could lead to duodenal ulcers, which maybe or possibly could lead to perforations. On the other hand, corpus predominant could lead to atrophic gastritis, and that could increase the probability of gastric cancer.